Over the weekend, the protests, which have already been continuing for many weeks, received just another example of why they're so important with more needless murders. And so we want to talk you through one of them. It involves Rayshard Brooks, which I'm sure you've heard about. On Friday night, a police officer shot and killed a 27-year-old black man, this is Rayshard Brooks, outside Atlanta Wendy's drive-thru. The shooting followed a struggle that began after Brooks failed sobriety tests. An autopsy conducted afterward found that he suffered 2 gunshot wounds to his back, and he died of organ injuries and blood loss. And the reason that he suffered gunshot wounds to his back was because he was running away from the police when they decided, no, we're not going to let him get away, and we're certainly not going to chase him, so we're going to put down the tasers, and we're going to start firing live ammunition at him. And he died completely needlessly. No one's life was at risk. It is exactly what everyone has been trying to get people to accept. This is the reality of policing. You inconvenience the police, and they will begin shooting, and a man's life has been lost.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And of course, we have to remember why Rayshard was apprehended in the first place, which was for sleeping in his car. And then they say that he, failed a sobriety test, but that's probably why he was sleeping in his car. Mm-hmm. He wasn't driving. I mean, arguably, it is the responsible thing to do. Sleep in your car, sleep it off anyway. And I think what a lot of folks who've seen these videos, you've read about the case, you know that Rayshard was apprehended by the police and was speaking very calmly to them, and that things only got heated when they actually tried to arrest him. And again, once again, why? What was he? Who was he harming? He was not driving the vehicle. Mm-hmm. If they could give him a citation, they could, at most, right? But they didn't have to arrest him. So even then, the premise of his arrest is suspect.
100%. They could have sent him home. They could have put him in an Uber. And the thing is, like, there are so many examples where if you just change the one variable, the fact that he's black, that is exactly what they would do. If it had been me that had fallen asleep outside a Wendy's, they would not have tried to arrest me. They wouldn't have tased me. If I ran, they certainly wouldn't have shot me. Like, all of it hinges on one specific fact, the fact that he's black. That's it. And look, I've already seen the response from some to this whole thing, and there's always the excuses. He struggled. Oh, he had a taser, even though they always tell us they're totally non-lethal. So apparently no cop was actually at risk with him having a taser. It's an excuse to get to the point where you can say it's okay that they murdered him. And then you just think of the obvious follow-up questions. Okay, so what if I went up and punched a cop in the face? Does he get to shoot me in the head? Mm-hmm. No, obviously he doesn't. But there's a significant portion of the population that thinks, well, maybe not you, but maybe some people. Maybe if the cop felt like, what if you were going to punch him again and break his skull open? What if he was scared for his life because someone wasn't doing exactly what the cops wanted? That is reason enough to murder him. And that is really the divide that we're addressing right now. It is Absolutely. A system, a murderous system, that a significant chunk of the population thinks, so long as the violence is predominantly against people who don't look like me, it is totally okay that they respond to even minor inconveniences with murderous force.
Absolutely. And I think, Ilhan Omar has pointed out that this is not about training. It's not about learning how to de-escalate a situation. Police officers know how to de-escalate a situation, and they do it all the time when they're apprehending white people. And John's absolutely right. I mean, I think a lot of people know, white people know that. I remember when I found out that some rich white people get escorted home by the police if they're drunk. I'm saying like a tailing you home, making sure you get safely into your garage, like all but tucking you in. I mean, the kind of discrepancy and the disparity between how black and white people are treated in this country. I mean, it is all mask off. And I think for me, the thing about this case that is truly the most upsetting is that they should have just let him get away.
Yeah.
Let him get.
You got his car. You know who he is.
Exactly. Take the L on this one. Why? Because he struggled. He got out of 2 cops who were armed, right? Who had like batons. They could have had used a baton. He struggled. He got out. He ran away. So be it. The dude was sleeping in his car. You lost. You didn't follow him because you're lazy. It's an L. He wasn't going to hurt anyone. His car's right there. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. But that's not how they respond. And like, so we're focusing on this case. It is an absolute tragedy. The story is continuing to unfold. But there are any number of cases from just over this weekend that are just as bad. There was at least one other case of a cop kneeling on a black man's neck. The guy saying he eventually died. The guy whose neck was being knelt on said, "I can't breathe." Cop said, "I don't care." It's like during all of this, a wave of protest brought on by that exact situation, they're still doing not just things, they're doing the exact thing that they did to George Floyd. The cops, it's not just that they can't learn, and I would say the evidence the past few decades imply that it is difficult to train them, but that they don't want to. There isn't a cop in America who doesn't know that right now, when a black man says, "I can't breathe because your neck is on my neck," that the wrong response is, "I don't care." They all know it, but he still said it. And by the way, No, continue.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a system designed specifically to criminalize Black Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I saw, I think Doug Holland in the comments said, "Is there video?" There is a lot of video in this case. There's body cam footage, which suspiciously doesn't include the actual killing, oddly enough. There's Wendy surveillance footage, and there's also cell phone footage. The reason that we're not showing it is because, and I'm not articulating sort of a general principle going forward, but I just can't right now. I can't. And I saw Rayshard's wife said that she can't watch the footage because she's already dreading the funeral and having to explain to his kids. He has a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-year-old, as well as a 13-year-old stepson, that she just can't take seeing it. And I think a lot of us feel that way. It's just too much. And we know what it is. The footage shows it. Not the original footage, but footage that has come out shows he gets away. He's running away. They shoot him in the back multiple times.
Right.
And so if you feel that you need to see that footage, it is available. I will also say the police officer who killed Brooks has been fired. Another officer involved in the shooting has been placed on administrative duty, so bear that in mind.
And the police chief immediately resigned.
Exactly.
Which is huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that more than likely would have happened a month ago. The Wendy's has been burned down, although it is questionable exactly who did. There's a video going around implying that it was actually a white woman, but I can't tell from the footage exactly. But anyway, know that the Wendy's apparently has been burned. So there's that. And anyway,
I mean, this is the thing is like, this is the thing about when you look at these cases and the fact that they still keep happening despite the overwhelming amount of protests, the multitude of people, the polling on this, the people who want real reform. Then you look at the demand to defund the police, and it's not radical. It's not radical at all, right? And I think the real thing is, demand to defund the police, keep cutting. We'll tell you when it's okay.
Exactly.
Keep cutting. Oh, you have to reallocate? You have to reallocate, and you have to give some of this work to mental health care professionals or social workers, or hey, you've got to create another task force because that is unarmed because you can't pay for all those weapons. That's okay. Keep defunding, and the communities will tell you when it's enough.
Exactly. Yeah. How many cases have we seen where the difference between life and death was the fact that cops showed up? And if they just hadn't, what's the worst that would have happened?
Yeah.
The drive-through line might have been blocked for a few minutes. God forbid.
I don't even think he was blocking the drive.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
you're 100% right. Nothing would have happened. That's what would have happened. Absolutely nothing. And this is like hypothetically, like if you defunded the police, if you remove them from the vast majority of the responsibilities that they now hold, that they did not hold initially, there's no understandable rational reason why they would intervene in these sorts of situations. There's so many involving mental health and homeless and all of that just bringing someone who is packing and has been trained that that's the solution to your problems is literally the worst thing that you could do. Leaving the person to their fate could be safer for them, let alone sending an expert who's been trained to actually deal with the problem, rather than to just get there, be trained to be terrified, and respond to any perceived threat, existent or not, with deadly violence.
Absolutely. And I also would just encourage people, I mean, we've talked about this before, to not call the police, but also maybe step up. Like, is there a way without, going full Karen on someone that you can knock on a window of somebody you think might be drunk and just say, hey, how are you doing? You okay? Do you want me to call you a car? Like, I think this goes to, in the absence of police, being able to be a reliable, non-lethal entity.
Yeah.
And in the absence of anything else like it, maybe we all have to step up and make sure that people are okay. Again, without being too nosy into, without discriminating our own selves. But, rather than calling the cops, hey, maybe just check in with someone.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.